I really connected when you were telling me about these projects that you want to do with entertainment. And we were, we were talking about how a lot of the entertainment that's out there now is kind of brainwashing us in a way that doesn't benefit us.
Yeah.
And so these experiences that you are creating are going to do that, but for the betterment, for the benefit and our transformation.
Yeah. If we are out there, we can't help but be consuming, especially now. It's so interesting, actually. I had a friend tell me when he went to Europe, the first thing he noticed, I think specifically in Germany, the first thing he noticed was how little signage there was compared to the US. And when he said that, I started looking around and I thought, wow, we are just bombarded by information, signage, billboards, and that's when you're off your phone, you know? That's when you're not on your computer. And so in the era that we are in, it is so important to really be discerning about what we are consuming. All of that is going into us. And when we're volunteering to be in an event that is a night out, that's something fun that you would want to do anyway, why not really make it a break from all the noise out there and have you experience something that's super fun, entertainment forward, as we said. And a byproduct of you experiencing that is you take home something that is actually transformative, something that actually moved you, something that is a real tool that you can use in your everyday life, because we are actively and passively consuming all the time. And if we are doing that anyway, then it's great to be able to be in a position where we can have our hand on the steering wheel and say, this is what would be great for people to actually consume because it's actually mentally beneficial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was talking to a chef on here on the channel, and she was telling me about how her experience with going through the Special K diet. Do you remember that back in the day? The
No.
cereal?
Oh, yeah, I remember the cereal, but there was a diet for it?
Yeah. Yes, like to help you lose weight and pure marketing. Now that I look back, I didn't realize it back then because I was just too young to know
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah.
But just the way, like you said, that we're being given these signs and messages and do this and this is going to help you.
Yeah.
And it turns out that a lot of it is just a bunch of crap to get you to buy things and be a certain way that at the end of the day, you really don't want those things. They're not good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they're advertising something that is detrimental and isn't going to lead to the thing. It's actually going to make you worse. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where does your background in film and entertainment come into all this? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I call it as it's like we all have our own software and programming, like iOS software. So all of that experience, I call it when I'm able to access the cloud. That's my own cloud of this year, different varied experiences that I've had. And it's really great because it allows me to have a holistic approach to any sort of creative brief. Meaning if somebody is saying, hey, we want something that is comedically inclined, we want something that is more family friendly, I'll just sit. This is a little bit of part of my creative process, roundabout way to answer your question, but I'll just sit, I'll ask the question to my brain and I'll say, okay. And then I think about accessing the cloud. And the cloud is full of these experiences that I've had, whether it was in doing improv for many years, doing sketch comedy for many years, doing stand-up for many years, watching movies, producing movies, directing documentaries. I've been fortunate enough to have all of these really interesting, unique experiences. And so because of that, I'm able to plug in certain things depending on what the brief is. So I can access a lot of different ways to essentially get people to connect deeper, because that's my mission. I can boil down my life's purpose to one word, and it's connection. So everything I've done has been connection based, connection forward, and then everything I plan to do is to foster deeper connection.
What did you say that your the role that you gave yourself is experience designer? Was that it?
Experience designer. Yeah.
What kind of experiences have you designed in this realm that you want to
In
move
this
into?
realm, I did a couple of immersive plays. So one was earlier this year at the Lincoln Center in New York. And this was a play called Outside In, and it was inspired by Pixar's Inside Out. And we wanted people to go from the outside and be from the outside and come in. And we had a through line, which was life is full of triggers. Find the glimmer, which is the opposite of a trigger, and leave with a new perspective. And so in doing that, we had three immersive rooms: a trigger room, a glimmer room, and a perspective room. And each of them had different unique ways that the audience could play with what was happening in the experience. And me personally, I love surprises. And so it was full of different surprises. For example, one of the rooms, the trigger room, you walk in, all of these things, the audience has no idea, what they're about to experience. So the prompt when people walked into the trigger room was, oh, go in there and see who's wrong. Find out what's going on. And you walk in and it's a family of three in the middle of a full-blown argument. And they're all in character, and you can walk right up to them, and they're talking to you. They say, hey, you, yeah, you with the red dress. Did your mom treat you like this too? Don't you think it's so crazy? And you are full on engaging with the actors who are playing an argument that you can very much relate to. So the experience is very grounded in reality. However, it's hyperbolic in nature, in the sense that you get to play with an actor in real time. So this is the kind of approach when it comes to experience design, where I like the idea of surprising the audience and keeping them on their feet. And so that's one example. And had another one during Fashion Week this year that was it's called Fashion on Trial. And Fashion on Trial, courtship versus couture. And so what this was talking about, how do we use fashion to really signify identity and what we are putting out there as people? Because you can put on something, but is it really saying what you want to say about yourself? And is it ultimately attracting what you want to attract? You have onus in that. And so it goes beyond, oh, this top looks good with these pants, etc. It's more about, what am I signaling? How am I feeling when I go into my closet? Is it really saying what I want to say about who I am? And ultimately, we had the audience learn that our identities, we can't really know who we are if we don't even understand who is influencing us. So in this age of influence and influencers, you got to really see, is this me or am I being influenced? And if I am being influenced, do I actually agree with what's happening? I don't want to be a passive person. So we use fashion as a tool to show people, hey, have ownership over how you're being influenced and what you want to put out there that's signifying who you actually are. And so with that, we had a trial and we had jury members come in, and we had plants in the audience who were dressed up as, one girl dressed up as an Anna Wintour type juror. Another person came in as a conspiracy theorist. Another person came in as someone who just really didn't care, didn't know why she was there. And we were talking to them during the show, and the audience didn't know if they were just patrons or if they were actual characters. So in that was another little surprise element, because we would when you have that type of interaction, then the audience interacts as well, So with that, as I was talking to some of those jurors, then other people who weren't plants in the audience would raise their hands and get involved as well. So it was really cute.
Wow. Both of those sound really incredible and
they were
unique, timely.
Yeah.
I love how it really gets you to look at things from, like you said in the first one, it just puts you right there in the scene when normally you may just relive that with a therapist in conversation or talk to a friend about it, or you may watch it in a show and you may feel things, but to be there in the heat of the moment, even though it's scripted or acted, but just to be able to feel. It is.
Yeah. So that's the other beauty of it, is a lot of it is there's structure and there's backstory and there's an end goal. But because I have that improv background, improv to me is oh my gosh, it's the best tool. I think everybody should take an improv class, if not several. So, but we give backstory, and then the rest of it is improvised so that it can be off the cuff and have that real time feel to it.
Yeah. And then the fashion, I've been seeing different places, like Dr. Mark Hyman posted something about, the clothes that you wear, but it was more from like a medical, how it is on your skin. Exactly. Yeah. But then there's, other people that I've seen coming out talking about the energy that your clothes has. So I find it very interesting because there are so many different levels or dimensions of healing, and just the subconscious, it's endless.
Yeah.
And I don't know how deep it went, and you can tell me now in your immersive experience with the jury, but I can imagine that maybe if I was in that, experiencing it, I may have things come up for me that are way deeper than just, like you said, a shirt and a pant. But why?
Yes.
Or why not?
Yes. That's it. So it is these things are designed specifically to promote curiosity, because that is what leads to questions. And ultimately we're trying to break patterns inside of us. We want to break conditioning. Then that leads us to more sovereignty. Hey, I'm not just a robot doing certain things because I'm not even thinking about it. So with curiosity, it's when you're starting to ask why, and you keep going down that why rabbit hole, that's what really leads to that juice, of identity, leadership, sovereignty, those things that we really need now on an individual level, so that collectively we can get to a much better place. So in that experience, if you were there, yes, in terms of the depth of it. So when designing these things, you have to be very careful of information overload, simplicity, and fun. So with that, whenever I'm designing something, there needs to be just one simple through line, one simple transformational or therapeutic tool that people can walk away with. And so for the fashion one in particular, it was that a precursor to intimacy is identity and not isolation. So what does that mean? So this comes from, we had a psychiatrist on board who was, doing all the psychiatry work behind the scenes to ensure that this tool made sense and was something that had a real therapeutic backing to it, so that you didn't need to walk into a psychiatrist's office and discuss this and find out. You could just experience it through the play. So what that tool specifically meant was, again, once I know myself, then I have a better chance of being intimate in the right way with my partner, with the world, with everything that I'm consuming. But I have to figure that out for myself first. And so we did it in that fun way through fashion. So there's something tangible. Clothes. Got it. My clothes. Okay. What is it saying about me? Now how do I feel about that on me and with me? Okay. Now how am I showing up with my partner? Interesting. And then how am I showing up in the world? Oh, so your perspective changes. Your lens starts to get altered because you become curious, because things are starting to break and reform new patterns.
Mm. And you can see it when people evolve, like when someone's living a life that's not theirs, and then they, awaken, and now there's somebody else. Their hair's different, they're
Yeah.
dressing different.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you look different. What's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. 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 Stella's get their grooves back,
Yeah,
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay. You've been doing some introspection. Yeah. It's nice. It's really nice.
for sure. So what does this look like in a retreat setting? How, because I think it could be really beneficial and fun.
Yeah,
Fun.
I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's just give me a prompt and we'll make it happen. It could be a lot of things. It just depends on what the goal is. And even if people don't know what the goal is, we can figure that out too. But ultimately what it is it will be fun, it will have surprises, and it will be transformational and simple. So that's the framework for every experience design, and it's endless. It's like you can play with the locations, you can play with the different coaches that you brought in, you can play with the any element people want in building their retreat. You can play with all of it in a unique way. So what I love about this type of approach to in-person events is that I'll say this, I found that things are very serious a lot of the time. And especially when it comes to healing, or it comes
Yeah.
to when we really want to change ourselves, it's like, it's super serious, or
History.
it's like, yeah, exactly. Is
Yes.
this, and then every promo trailer, you see someone crying, or they're doing like intense breath work and they're screaming, which is all great. All these things that
Yeah.
they awesome, and I think we can have a lot of fun too. So I think that there's a lot of laughter, and there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of laughter therapy in laughter that we can infuse. And I've found personally in my experience that seems to be lacking when it comes to the transformational space. So I want to bring more of that, the fun, the play, the laughter within experience design when it comes to retreats. Yeah.
I resonate with that. I
Yeah.
like that. And I agree. I think a lot of us, I had a really hard time at first laughing at myself.
Yeah.
I had to, and now I'm at a place where I can, and it's
Mhm.
so freeing
Yeah.
to just be able to laugh at yourself and laugh with each other. I think there's a lot of, for some people, there's wounds around being laughed at, and being able to experience a safe container where you can laugh with each other, and being stupid or being goofy or making mistakes or tripping or whatever it is, that we can all laugh for the sake of it. We're just having fun,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's the beauty too that I found early on with improv, because we had people in our class that weren't actors. And and there's you feel a real charm with yourself when you genuinely make other people laugh and you aren't trying. That's the key. You're really not trying. That's the biggest rule in improv is you don't try. You're just within the structure, and it ends up working out so well. And so that delight comes, and I just made people laugh. So it's it's not that we have to perform or be a certain thing, or that people are going to be laughing at us in a way that they're making fun of us. It's that, what you said, that goofiness is just coming out, who we were naturally as children, that playfulness is coming out, and then that's making us laugh. That's what's being shared. So that part yeah, I really, really enjoy. And then it's it's such a it's such a beautiful way to open people up really quickly too, you know? So that we then, once you have that open door and those chemicals are moving inside your body, then we can really go deep and get into some real transformational stuff. But that door needs to be open first, and I love using laughter as the key to open that transformational door. Yeah.
Sometimes laughter does lead to crying.
Yeah, which is great. Any release like that is great. I just think we could we could even out the ratio between crying and laughing at these things.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, I can't remember, a friend was telling me, my brain keeps saying constellations, but I don't think it's that. But where you are with a group of people and then everyone takes turns, and now this is your mother, this is your sister, is that what it is?
I think so. It's like, yeah, it is. It's family constellations, right? Where people
Okay.
are role playing or something like that.
They're role playing.
Yeah.
I've never been to one, so
Yeah.
my friend did, and she was telling me how powerful it was for her.
Yeah.
I guess it's more like improv with just like letting the spirit flow through you. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
Have you ever experienced it?
Something like that, constellations, or that feeling in general?
The constellations.
I haven't done constellations. I've done IFS work, internal family systems, which is like a constellation within yourself. So you're talking to, you're probably familiar, but where you're talking to different
No.
parts. Oh, it's so cool. You're talking to different parts that exist within yourself. So, and then you're being you're being the observer and the mediator and each part as you're going into each part. So I worked with a coach, did many sessions, and it wasn't funny at the time. No, it was. I went into the voice of my body, which was really pissed at my brain, the voice of my brain. And my brain was super masculine, and my body was super feminine. And in terms of those, you know, I guess you could say, the inherent nature of what that means. So what I mean by that is my brain was super, I got to go do this. I got to execute on this, and this. I got to make us the money. I got to figure out housing and it was very just like, I'm the one that needs to do this. And my body was like, yeah, well, you're just dragging me along and I'm super tired, but you don't seem to care. And my brain was like, what do you want me to do? And it felt like an old married couple just fighting back and forth.
Wow.
And I'm being each of these parts and I'm observing it. And it's really beautiful because you're doing relationship coaching within yourself and the different consciousness energies that exist within. So yeah, it's like, I guess you could call it like constellation work within.
That could be another immersive activity.
It's dope. I mean, it's intense, but it can be designed in a way where it's depending on what the goals are, it can be designed accordingly. But IFS is great. I think it's a really good tool. Yeah.
What I really love about what you're wanting to expand on in this realm is how you can take these really complex therapy, psychiatry, psychology, trauma, things like that, and break it down into something that's so simple, that's very, accessible to the kid in you. Maybe you wouldn't put a kid through that because they wouldn't really get it because they haven't gone through all the shit or have the mountain of stuff on top of them. But I like how it's taking something very complex, making it simple, making it digestible and fun. So like you said, it doesn't always have to be about us crying it out. We can, that's what's needed.
Yeah.
But laughing through it too.
Mm-hmm. Crying, laughing, and celebrating. We can do all of that in even ratio, if not tipped in the on the scale of where there's more celebration and laughing. And not to say that we're making it lighter or anything like that. It's I truly believe we can also transform through joy. I've done every freaking healing modality and course, and dude, I've my whole done a lot of stuff, and it's been painful. It's been deep and painful and intense, and for good reason, because there's a lot of alchemy in that. And I'm also thinking like, well, what about the other side of it? What about the joyful side of it, the joyful release? Let's do that too. Where are those practitioners? I want to do some of that, and the place where I found that was through my entertainment background. It was that joyful release came from improv, from acting, from comedy, so I just feel like people who aren't in the entertainment industry, they don't have access to that outside of being a passive watcher. And so I want people to actually experience it. There's a reason why actors go into acting. It's addictive. It feels really good. It feels really good to engage and connect with an audience in that way. So it would be great for people who aren't actors to be able to experience that too. There's no reason for them not to.
Yeah. And I know, like, going deeper into the comedy aspect, I know a lot of people who cope with things in their life through jokes and laughter. And just like we all learn in different ways, like some people like to read, some people like to listen, some like people like to be hands-on, just creating this other avenue, like you said, for people that feel more aligned to, I want to heal through laughter. Like, I don't feel like sitting in a circle and crying it out. That's not me. I'd rather experience something like this where I can still get through the things I need to get through, but in a way that resonates with me.
Yeah. And to highlight that just because it's laughter doesn't mean it's just lightness. It's not coming from a defense mechanism place of, I use laughter to hide and to mask the deeper thing and not go in there. No, it's, we can have fun and still do the deep thing and unlock the deeper things so that that place feels more comfortable to access, or they can exist side by side. Oh my God, there was this super cringe moment I had at a retreat in Bali, and it was so cringe. But
Are you're gonna say it, right?
yeah, I have to say it.
Okay.
Oh my God. I get these moments that I call it cringe popcorn, where some memory will just pop up and I go, oh, it's like popcorn. It just pops to the surface of this memory that I've tried to shove down. And
Oh no.
yeah, it's just specifically cringe. So this is one of them. So I was at a retreat in Bali, and, again, super like deep and feely and all that. It was just fine, but it was 7 days of that. And so after a while, I was like, oh, like, what? Can we just joke? Can we just be playful for like a second? And so we had done an exercise, and then they wanted us to pass the mic and share how we felt. And my partner and I were actually, he was being really playful and joking. We were doing the exercise, but we were still like joking around and being really playful with it. And it was this joint release exercise, essentially. And so while we were doing it, he was like, wow, as you're doing this, I saw all of my past lives flash at once. And in one of them, I was a turtle, and you were there and you were a frog. And you just gave me the massage I've ever had in my life. And I was like, yes, I had the same thing. I had the same flash, and we're just playing, we're just bantering while we're still doing the exercise. So it's like, it's releasing some stuff, but it's really funny and it feels good. Anyway, I decided to share. And I said it in this way that was a bit dry, and I said, oh, we just had such an expansive experience. And this is after everybody had really deep, heartfelt shares. And I said, he saw all of his past lives flash at once. And he was a turtle in one of them. And I was a frog. I was there. And he said we had this karmic connection where I was actually massaging him, as the frog. And now here we are doing it again in real life. And I blew his freaking mind. I was so good at this exercise. I said all of that. The room took me seriously. They thought I was being serious with that share because everything had been so serious the whole time. And so I couldn't even recover from it and be like, just kidding. Everyone was like, wow, oh. And then he was super embarrassed, and he was super like pissed at me because he was like, that was just a joke between us, And I said, oh, I thought it was funny, So the whole thing was just so cringe and And I was like, man, if I was running this retreat, this type of thing would be more of the norm,
Where just people can share in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was definitely had access to share in their own way. I just didn't read the room in the sense that this level of not sarcasm, but whatever, this type of humor was just not going to get got in that place. So
But maybe if you had another way to express that in some other way, you could have made time to be in that serious space.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's just that thing when a joke doesn't land, you just take it so like, oh no, no, this is my art. This joke didn't land. No, can't be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But it's making me think that, I mean, it's something I'd never thought about before. I've led a few retreats we've led some retreats. And it's very easy to think like, this is the programming. This is what I want everybody to feel. This is how I want, this is the energy that I want everybody to be in. But just creating a space where everyone can be them,
Yeah.
however that wants to come through in any given moment. We're there to just experience ourselves.
Yeah. 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 And it's, you know, you got to really take into consideration people do like all the different types of people that are going to show up, as you're saying, exist as yourself. And that even with that retreat, that was the intention, show up as you are. However, it depends on what the overall vibe is. And the overall vibe of this one was constant, like,
Deep inner
deep,
work.
feely, all like that. And which is great if that's what you want, and I did for like 3 days. I was into it, and then day 4 I was like, oh my god, I just want a different vibe. I just want something else now.
Well, maybe these experiences that you're building can offer that, like a workshop in between to break the ice, break it up. I
Yeah.
think improv is a lot of fun, and it reveals a lot about ourselves to ourselves that we didn't even know was possible. That's like, wow, I didn't realize that was in there.
Yes, because we're all mosaics. We all have different pieces and different parts of us that can be accessed in different ways. We're not any one thing. So let's do the heart-centric stuff. Let's do the super creative stuff. Let's do the funny stuff. Like let's play to all of these pieces of us that exist. We're multidimensional, so let's access all the dimensions. That is super cool to me.
And it makes me think of when we were talking about how you design things with the senses in mind, like you're very detail oriented with, yes, the visuals, but also the audios and the smells and feeling things. And so just as, I was talking with someone else that I think it was Bodhi, a musician. He was telling me that he listened to someone saying that we have more than 12
Yeah.
senses. And that's just the one that we've figured
Yeah.
out. I'm sure we have many more.
Yeah.
But just speaking to all those pieces of ourselves and then creating these experiences that are multisensorial.
Yeah. Yeah. Where was it? I read an article. I saw a headline and then I kept scrolling, but I was like, that's a cool headline.
I do it all the time. Oh my God, I read this article. Did you really read it? No, but I saw
No,
what
but the headline said, so the headline said I think it was in Japan, they changed the lighting of the train stations and it led to a much less suicide rate.
Oh,
And dude, lighting is so important. I mean, so I'm one of these people, hypersensitive, HSP, a hypersensitive person, which means sound. Yeah, to that sound, sense, colors, lighting really, really affect me. I can feel my energy drop or dip. How it changes room to room. So I'm very specific about how I curate my life. And then, of course, the experiences. And even if you aren't that sensitive, it still affects you in a way. There's a reason why spas look and feel the way that they are. They're a place for relaxation. Now, why can't we bring more of that atmosphere to other spaces and places? So that that fluorescent lighting is so like these office spaces that have that lighting, that have that there's a jitter too, and it makes the eyes really, really tired because they're constantly adjusting to this jitter that exists in this fluorescent lighting. So anyway, that article that I read said they changed the the lighting in the train stations, and it made a massive difference. So that's freaking cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have before or if you'd be open to designing or curating these spaces in retreat centers, or even just the retreat space. Like if someone rents a venue and they're like, okay, I have this in mind and I want to enable these types of activities, or I want people to feel this. And is that something that you could help with?
Yeah. So essentially it's like I said, it comes down to the creative brief and then we figure out the flow of it. So I look at things as a script. I come from my movie background. Any sort of creative concept, I look at it as what would this be as a real life movie, essentially. So I'm seeing it as a script. We would actually have a script. And in the script, it says, like, this character walks into this room. The scripts are all broken down with every single scene in mind. And so that's how I look at things when it comes to in-person events. So whatever it is, I'm thinking in my head, okay, what is this movie? What does it look like? And then I just bring the best people on to execute.
So you also organize retreats, or you could
I
organize
can.
retreats.
Yeah, I can. It's not exactly something that I really want to do, but I definitely can, because producing is essentially project managing, and so my background is in producing, and so what that is, it's hiring every part of of people who are involved in the movie making process, every department, hair and makeup, costumes, the DP, the gaffer, everybody, and understanding who's the best people for the job, how are they going to execute, taking the script and saying, wow, what's the art direction behind this? How are we going to make this 3D, what's written on paper, and actually make it happen? So you can see the correlation to retreats. You can do the same thing. However, because my body was so pissed at my brain, this puts me very much into taskmaster execution mode, and I'd have to really check in and see if my body is up for that, so that they're not fighting, because I'm still managing this relationship.
Okay, so then what is the thing that your body is like, yes, we do this. This is how I help you. Yes.
So the thing that my body is like, yes, we do this, is it is in experience design, meaning somebody is saying, hey, I have an idea for a retreat, whether it's baked out or it isn't, but I want people to really feel this, this, and this. And then I go into creative mode and I say, this is how we can execute it. And I'm not necessarily in charge of the entire production of it, but in terms of like logistics and, having a freaking headset and being like, people are arriving, make sure they're blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do any of that, but I can hire all those people, Yeah. So it's the creative development side of it, and then the hiring out. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. All right. That sounds good. And even for like day retreats, local retreats, so that it can be more of like what you were saying, those immersive plays. That sounds really amazing, and something unique, something different that the world needs.
That's it. Something different, and something that in a very short amount of time, you feel a connection to the people around you and to what's going on. Because my goal is, I always want to see how quickly I can break the ice in a not awkward way, and that people feel close to the person next to them who was a stranger before. So so really designing it in because this is what we do in acting class. We get up there and we don't know the person next to us, and all of a sudden we're in a scene and we have to be friggin' making out because we've been married for 20 years and what, it's just like, oh. So, but it has to be believable. So how do you get yourself to actually be that? And that's what we do. So we can bring these kinds of tools, outside of the acting world. I'm not saying I'm trying to get people to be making out 2 minutes within meeting each other. But hey, if the creative brief calls for that, we can make that happen too.
And then you're just thinking, dear Jesus, I hope you brushed your teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be in the pre-arrival waiver is make sure, your hygiene is on point, because in the first 5 minutes, ...
You're going to make out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you share an experience, a transformative experience that someone had that went to one of your immersive plays?
Ooh, yes. Okay. So I told you about the outside in, and the through line was life will bring up triggers. Opposite of a trigger is a glimmer. Find that glimmer and leave with a new perspective. Okay. So actually, there's two really funny ones.
Okay, good.
One funny one and one really dope one. So I'll tell you the dope one first. So there was this person who attended, and he had been in negotiations for a big acquisition, and his company was acquiring another company, and him and that CEO were not getting along, and there was just a lot of strife. And they had another meeting, and beforehand he said he was not looking forward to it. It was just going to be another one of these meetings where they're not going to get along, they weren't going to agree. He decided to approach this meeting from a place of a new perspective. And so he literally went into the meeting and he said, hey, I know a lot of this is triggering, and we've been triggering each other, but look, the opposite of a trigger is a glimmer. So let's work together to find the glimmer here, and we can figure this out with a new perspective. Like just went for it. And I'm telling you, he said that after that, they figured it out and they went forward with the acquisition, and it was way smooth, because that guy was just floored. He was like, what because you're speaking to the real human inside of us. That's something that's just real. That guy wanted that too. Who doesn't want a nice thing? So that's what he was speaking to. And so the negotiation went way smoother. That made me cry when I heard that, because you're in a vacuum and you kind of you design this thing and you think did people really like it? like Oprah said, after every single one of her interviews, the one question that everyone asks, whether they're a celebrity or the Pope or whoever, is as soon as the interview is over, they turn to her and they go, was that okay? I find that fascinating, because I feel the same way. You design something and then you think people like that. Was that okay? So then you get this feedback and you think, wow, okay. So that was one really cool one. And the other one that's hilarious is my parents came to that event, and so they were flying from North Carolina, and they left the next day, and their flight got massively delayed. So they were in the airport for 5 extra hours for a flight from New York to North Carolina, And my mom texts me and she goes, wow, we're delayed another couple hours after it already been a few hours. And she goes, what's the glimmer here, Surina? And she goes, this is the trigger. We're delayed for another couple hours. What's the glimmer here? And my mom did never use these words before, And so I texted her back and I said, well, you get to spend a couple extra hours with Dad. And she goes, that's actually more of a trigger. Oh, so cute. Yeah.
That's funny. But wow, look at how you're changing minds and getting people to think about and just become aware of the trigger, because a lot of times we're triggered, but we're not thinking about, oh, I'm triggered.
Right.
You just receive it and react.
Yeah. And really enabling the pause between the trigger and the glimmer and the perspective is a pause moment. So instead of just reacting, we're letting people practice that pause, so we're not having those knee-jerk reactions. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun when you learn something new and then you witness it. You're like, it does a trick.
Yeah. 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 And then for everyone who attended, you can speak that same language,
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's really beautiful. You're changing the world. Making it a better place.
We all doing it. We all find each other and we do it together. It's all got to be done together. So likewise, kudos to you for this platform.
Thank you.
Bring us together. Let's do it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Putting all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've gone deep, no crying, but we did the deep work. Lots of laughter. Is there anything you'd like to share about maybe you can talk about where you see this going.
Oh, gosh, for I would love for there to be so many in-person events that are accessible and curated to where it's like going to a Pixar movie, but in person. You know, it's going to be a beautiful transformational experience. And so whatever that branding is, it's saying, hey, come to this thing and you're going to leave feeling really good. And you know that because this is these are the people that are putting it on, you know, or this is the way that we are approaching it. Is we are being very discerning about the type of experiences that we are delivering to you. We're being very discerning about what is it that we want you to walk away with as somebody who's consuming. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here
Yeah.
and sharing
Thank you for having
your
me.
awesomeness.
Thank you. This is really fun.